So, system one is organizing your calendar. We want to make sure that our calendar helps us do our best, most impactful work and that we're not scattered and that we are being very intentional in where we're letting our time go during the week. Your calendar is your truth teller. It tells you about your priorities. So if you want to know what you actually value versus the values that you espouse, you're going to look at what's scheduled. So if your number one priority is growing your business and you have no business work blocks, scheduled events, anything in your calendar, then where you actually spend your time is telling a different story, and that may be something you want to reconcile. And so most enrichment operators, we run reactive calendars. We're responding to what comes at us versus being proactive, and then we call that a productive week because we handled a bunch of urgent fires that came our way. But if we look through the lens of strategy and doing the important work, what proactive work blocks were there? How did we organize our time and our energy and our efforts so that if we have a lot of fires coming our way, that we are taking time to assess that experience and put something into place so that that doesn't happen in the same way next time. So maybe it doesn't happen at all. Maybe it's handled better, but that is an ongoing need for us if we want to meet our business goals. We want to make sure that our calendars are as intentional as possible and that they're designed to protect the time that moves our businesses forward. So what I actually use here for my calendar, I use Reclaim AI for calendar intelligence. We use Google Workspace for our organization overall, but Reclaim helps with this one particular thing that I really like, which is buffer time between meetings. So I'm not jumping from call to call. And also if I have a meeting that has a physical location attached, I have my settings where buffer blocks allow the amount of time that I've dictated. So for me, it's like 30 minutes on each end of that in-person meeting where it now is blocked off of my calendar so I don't get double booked, because that used to happen. I would go to a school site and then someone would book a meeting with me. But wait, that I'm just ending my time visiting this program. So am I going to do the meeting in the car? Now I'm having to do the back and forth with the person manually that the automatic booking on my calendar was supposed to resolve. So Reclaim AI helps with that. Also, having a weekly planning and reflection ritual really helps. So for me, that's Friday afternoons. It's important, especially for us in the entrepreneurial space. I believe that entrepreneurship really highlights your strengths and your weaknesses like no other. It like amplifies both. So if you're real scattered, that's going to show up in your business in so many ways. Your business is going to be a reflection of you. It's going to reflect you, the areas you're great at and the areas you need to work on the most, right back to you in a lot of different ways. So for me, planning my time intentionally and the lack thereof really showed up in how my work week went. So I went on a deep dive around productivity and all these different things. And this is a practice that I found was really transformative for how I experienced my weeks. So Friday, I found as kind of a natural lull day for me. I plan in-person meetings on Fridays because that gives me energy and I'm available for that. And earlier in the week, I'm in execution mode. I'm in strategy mode. That may be Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. Then going into Thursday, I may be focused on other things. Maybe my proactive, larger projects that I'm working on. I may have other really important meetings that are more strategic versus networking meetings. And so that's how I organize my week. Weekends are where I give myself longer blocks to do things that are important, but are longer term projects. It might be social media work. It might be learning AI tools, just things that are really important, but can wait for the weekend. And if they don't get done on the weekend, then it's fine. Everything is still great. So Friday afternoons, I noticed that I'm not very productive on Friday afternoons. I'm naturally winding down. So before I allow myself to fully into wind down mode. I have a task on my Google Calendar that reoccurs every week, and it's a reoccurring 30-minute block. And in it, I have the description for the reflection that I conduct. First, I reflect on the week. I filter through every event on the calendar from this week. What went well, what did not, how can I better organize my time and my efforts next week? Where did I waste my time? And then I review my calendar for the next 2 weeks. Most importantly, I focus on the next week, and I just look at how does my calendar reflect my priorities. So I know my number 1, 2, and 3, what priorities, what I want to get accomplished that next week. I write those things down, and then I look and I make sure are those things blocked in my calendar? Are they planned for? And if not, how can I fit those things in? And maybe next week, maybe it's not possible to fit it. Then I go out to the next week. Also, for me, having time, intentional time with my family is very important. So not only do I identify my top 2 to 3 business priorities for the next week and the things I need to work on there, I identify 1 to 2 family priorities for the next week. So if the weather is nice and we haven't really had a chance to get a hiking, that's our favorite thing to do. Let's make sure that I choose where we're going to go for the hike. I put it in the calendar, and that is sacredly planned for because it's important. I also look for what tasks did I spend time on that could have been delegated. And sometimes there are tasks that I chose to do, but I'm actually not very effective at it. And that's where just humility and honesty with yourself comes into play. Are there other people around you that are really talented at the things that you're doing, but maybe it takes you 3 to 4 times longer, and maybe your output is at a lower quality than another member on your team, or someone that you could maybe hire through Upwork or Fiverr. That person could be local, they could be abroad, and surprisingly very affordable for help. So just thinking through what things can you automate, what things can you delegate, what things can you streamline as you do your weekly reflection. And it's also a time to celebrate, like what went well, what did I spend time on that really aligns with my values and my goals. I also have a filter. I'll call it a heavens yes filter. So if it's not like an emphatic yes, then it's a no. And although I may have to do some things that are, I don't want to do this, no. I don't want to spend too much time on things that I'm not energized about. For me, that comes into play with networking. A lot of networking opportunities come my way, but they're not always strategically aligned here and now with the immediate goals that I have for the business. Sometimes they may be longer term networking opportunities, or they may be a kind of a toss up, like I don't know if this is going to apply to me. And over time, I've learned to not be as much of a wishful thinker. That is an instinct I had to always think, what could be, but what if this is great? But okay, well, if it's so much chance to it, 50-50, then is that really where I want to spend my time, when I know if I can spend my time on something more intentionally, that there is going to be a really high likelihood that I get something out of that, or that it helps me in achieving some business goals that I have. So I make sure to audit my calendar for that as well. So my calendar heavens yes filter looks like me asking myself these questions, and I write my responses. Does this activity directly generate revenue or move me toward my goals? Will I walk? And sometimes it won't. That's fine. Will I walk away with something tangible or something distinctly beneficial? Do I know that? Do I know who is attending this opportunity, this event? Do I know what the agenda is, what the purpose is? And am I the only one who can be there? Could another member of my team be there and be more effective? Or are there other similar business owners to me that can represent whatever needs to be represented in that room? And would the future Arielle thank me for this? Would she say, great, you went to that? And if it's not yes, then cancel it, reschedule it, or delegate it. But the choice is yours. I know I've had so many times where I get a little upset with myself after I go to an event and I think, oh, I did it again. Wishful thinking. I wasn't clear and I got roped into this. Like even recently, a couple of weeks ago, we broadcast some of our advertisements through a local media network and they had a luncheon with the CEO. And I thought, oh, okay, my team couldn't go. I went and I was really happy to do that. I thought this would be great in, further solidifying our partnership and seeing where we could like ramp up our marketing efforts even more. And when I got there, it's like a sales pitch kind of thing. A lot of people in the room, all of their customers, and they just kind of talked at us and he stood in line to get food. I think it took like 40 minutes and the thing was an hour and that was it. And I was right in the middle of my day. My whole flow of my day was organized around that event. And so I did all that for a sales pitch. No one's selling me, upselling me, more marketing and advertising. So yeah, calendar filters help with that. But the key is to actually do the reflection when you calendar it. When you have it scheduled, you got to do it or it doesn't work.